My nipples are out. Look the fuck out. This is the Imperial Schools Founder Podcast. I'm Josh Folan.
And I'm Jay Baxtron.
And we're going to be bullshit about the formative years of console gaming as we revisit the periodicals that covered it again. We are busting out our Super Soaker 100s and eradicating some alien scum in Konami's Super C for the Nintendo Entertainment System today. Emulation disclosure to start. I played on Nestopia on my PC, and I started with the Advantage piped in via USB adapter, but quickly learned this was not an Advantage game. I needed to be able to change direction more quickly than the Advantage allotted me the opportunity to, or quite possibly more quickly than my old hands could change direction with the joystick. Possibility. In either case, I switched over to a USB standard controller shortly thereafter.
Nice.
How did you play?
I played with the standard NES controller with my USB adapter to my PC. Yep.
Please rate and review the podcast, be part of the ISOH movement, give us validation on your podcast platform of choice in the form of a rating or review, and we will read it here on the pod, and then be happy very, very briefly and fleetingly. What are we jamming on now? What are you jamming on now, Jay?
In the non-VR section of our show, still playing Hades. I mean, I beat the game, completed it, got the full complete ending. Yeah.
Animal.
Dude, multiple escape attempts, and the story, like, first of all, the final aspect of each weapon changes each weapon to something so different and so cool. It keeps you coming back. And then the story, obviously, was good enough for me to keep playing, and getting that completion is one of those like highly gratifying moments, like so good. And even after it's done, like the way that it's done, and I won't spoil it here, adds more replayability to it. So like I'm good. I can easily stop right now. I can continue a little bit. But yeah, it's absolutely fabulously done. I highly recommend completing it.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to, maybe keep something on the Xbox just to support retro gaming in some way, shape, or form,
Nice. Yeah, so pretty much just that, and then ESO, with Courtney from time to time finishing the latest Reach DLC zone before heading into Blackwood. So that's always fun to do. I do kind of miss being a part of an active social guild there, but I don't really have the time to really devote to that kind of stuff again.
We can create our own active social guild in Demio.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, yeah. Plus, my focus has clearly shifted to Demio. Really, what you see here, amazing freaking game. Oh my gosh! Like, I was thinking.
Do you even quest, bro?
It's like a card. It's like a live board game in VR, and it's like, okay, I'll put it like this. I think we've talked about before the fact that Courtney tried the PS4 VR once. She got kind of dizzy playing this really intense VR thing. She was like, "Oh, I can't do VR ever since then." I'm like, "You could try different things." You actually got into one of the most intense things, right, and it just kind of threw you off. Yeah, like you have an experience, and so because
I only played Doom. Well, that's not exactly
representative of the sample.
The full range of possibilities. Yeah.
Exactly, but because you and I have played this several times late, and all of a sudden she's like, "Wait a minute, you're sucked in." She's like, this morning, she's like, "Let me kind of experience. Let me see what it's like." And so I put the VR on her, let her go into like the home screen, let her draw the boundary, like give her the full like startup experience, and she was like, "Whoa, cool! Look at this background." And so she navigates the Demio, gets into a one-player skirmish, and I just kind of tell her the directions, and then all of a sudden she's off and running. And before
checked out for the next 4 hours.
Walk in here, she's like, So what if we ordered instead of that Nintendo Switch, that one and an Oculus, I could play with you and Amy and Folan. And I was like, I see. See how this goes.
Yeah, that's so
So
good, man. It's wild how there's only the only two campaigns right now, and I mean, and granted, maybe you could maybe we will tire of those. I don't know. I've only been playing it for a couple of weeks, but the replayability, despite the fact like the map is the same, the actual physical structure of the level of the dungeons are the same each time through, but obviously the inhabitants of the dungeons change, which and the location of points of interest and where the door is, where the key is, yada yada yada, on each level changes each time. So that mixes it up. But I'm just surprised at how I don't know how replayable it is, given how little variance there really is, how little physical variance there really is. So yeah, it's wild how I don't know. I
it
mean,
feels
it's
different to
just like
me
a board
every
game. It's
time.
just like it's the same reason you can get out the same board out of a box and play. Whatever the hell's going on there
Mhm.
is well transferred to the VR, and obviously the VR environment is cool as fuck.
Like the fact that you just said the board is the same every time, I'm like, false. It can't be. Like it seems different to me every time we play
It
it.
is.
So
It's you'll know like it's like I've noticed it that it's pointless how I figured it out. But yeah, you once you play it enough, you'll be like, oh yeah, this is because the room is the same. There's a few rooms that are very very distinct. Like level 2 of the Black Sarcophagus campaign, there's like this room with two. It's like a long room, and it's got two little balconies on each side, and it's just like a very, very distinctly looking room. And like, I played it a few times, and like no one told me this. Now I played it a few times, and a few times then I was like, damn, that's the same exact room. That's crazy. And I was like, wait a minute, it's the same way into that room. Like, holy shit, it's all the same. It's just shit's in different places. So I'm sure it would be a lot to randomly generate that every time. I'm sure. So I get it, and I'd rather them dedicate development time to entirely new campaigns than randomly procedurally generated existing campaigns anyway. So like I no complaints about that. It's just I'm surprised at how much it can still engage you no matter how many times you play it. At least so far. Yeah, it's really
for sure.
good.
So,
So what else have you played on there?
so I actually bought Beat Saber yesterday, or 2 days ago. Bought it a couple days ago, and yeah, I played it at GameWorks for my birthday when you guys are out, when you guys flew out here to Seattle, and so seeing it there is just as amazing and even better, because I'm not connected to something like I was at GameWorks, and so I'm gonna let Zion play that after. She's super excited to play it. It's so good. It's so good, man. So
Yeah,
good.
I would guess. I mean, like I said, it's not. I don't think it's something that I would dig, but it's insanely rated. Every time I see a list for this thing, that's
Mhm.
on there. It's got to be pretty good.
Yeah, I've also played. I mess around with the rec room a little bit, which it's so funny. Like they have this archery thing, which is so fun. Like it seems like the control seems so reactive, like better than I thought it would be.
The
Like
physics
any
are
kind of
so
game
good,
that
dude.
I've like better than I've played with like a Wii or not the Wii, but like the Switch or something like that.
Yeah.
Like just so reactive, and I kept wanting to do it over and over again. So that's really fun as well. But I've only kind of dipped my toe into that. I know there's much more to be found there, but yeah, it's so far
The
I'm
physics in
pumped.
that mini golf game are just it blows my mind
Yeah,
how good they
that
are. It's so good.
obviously walkabout mini golf. That is so fun. Like I definitely want to play more of that. Like it's funny because on the PS4 VR, I would play the golf game there, but it's a driving range, and that's fun for me. I liked it. But this, like the walkabout, is so much better. Like I prefer putt putt anyway, but just yeah, just the play of it, just the physics of it, all of that. It's so much fun. So I'm kind of like, man, am I really gonna have to get a second VR headset for Courtney and like slash the family, so we can
Probably gonna
drive
end
it
up.
again?
You're
Like,
probably
is
gonna
it,
end
is
up
it
with.
going
You're
this
probably gonna
fast?
end up with four of them, Jay. Is probably what's gonna happen.
Like, I'm not gonna buy games that have on other platforms. So I have Vader Immortal in the PS4 VR. At least the first or second one I gotta see, maybe both. But I know I don't have the third one. But I'm not gonna buy those again on this one. But I might get the third one on this, because that one's so fun.
I didn't even know that. I thought these were all. I mean, I guess if you're talking about a fucking Star Wars thing, of course it's gonna be everywhere. But I don't know. I don't think of this platform as having much overlap with any other system. I mean, I'm sure part of that's just because it's VR stuff, but also I just feel like there's a lot of indie developers, there's a lot of small developers, a lot of the games are like. I mean, I just saw. The hell was it Walkabout? Maybe it was Demio. I just got an announcement in the Discord for one of these two games last night that had just popped up on Steam. So it just became available for, on Steam. So like that, like it came here first, you know what I mean? So that's like, because it's so successful here on this one unique platform, it's being transitioned wider, you know what I mean? So like, I feel like this is a very, very natively driven developer base, if that's the fucking term. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I mean, like, it's almost like, it almost feels a little bit like rinky dink, and kind of like I'm a little scared it's not gonna last because it's not being supported by the AAA title developers. You know what I mean? That's where all the money gets made, and that's why, you know what I mean. But Facebook is a lot of these games. I've listened to a few. I started listening to this Rough VR podcast. It's pretty good. Been interfacing with the guys. We're gonna scheduling a walkabout mini golf game. They said they're cool as fuck. I was listening to another one too. That's more of kind of just like a VR news podcast, or Oculus VR news podcast. They were saying, fuck, I totally lost my train of thought. What was I talking about? Why did I start talking about that? I started thinking about playing mini golf with those guys and just fucking blanked out.
Walkabout is awesome on the
whatever.
VR.
Yeah, I don't even know what the hell to say it, but the point is, like, I'm a little concerned about like whether or not it can last, but it fucking. They were saying that Facebook is developing a lot of the games in house. Like a lot of these,
really?
a lot like the Beat Saber, all these are, maybe that's that was in the arcade, so that's developed by someone else. But a lot of these games, I guess, are being developed in house at Facebook, so they are like really, really pushing making this work with in-house money, and that's probably what's keeping it afloat right now. Is a lot of their like $30 AAA titles are self-made. You know what I mean? So
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, and Facebook's got money. I'm watching their fucking I'm watching their fucking stock ticker every day, and they got money. So I guess if they're supporting it, we'll be okay.
Yeah, as long as that works, man. Because it's so good. One good signal is that the Demio Discord new players pop up like every day. It seems like that I've joined. So like,
dude, it's that. I mean, that's part of what.
Hopefully, more and more people are coming.
Yeah, Demio is so cool. Yeah, I mean, because I will. Like you started playing, Amy got a headset, but like before that, either of those happened, I was in there. Like I just pop into the looking for games Discord, pop a room number down, or just look in there and find one. You know what I mean? And like, yeah, finding a game, it never had to wait more than 5-10 minutes to get either someone to come to my game or to find a game that I want to join. And I've played games and friended people, and we've sent messages and like play again. Like, yeah, it's really cool. I'm surprised. Like, I got a note here. Like, I got made fucking friends, bro. The first new male friends I've made since like 2004. I made a bunch of them between Demio and Walkabout Mini Golf, and it's crazy to me because I am just like complete social shut-in for the most part. It's hilarious to me how, like, I don't know, personal it's become of an activity.
Yeah, for sure, man. It's nuts. I had the same thing. Like even yesterday, like before we played, earlier in the day, I took like a break from work and jumped into a quick match, and I was having a
break from
great
work,
time.
a 2+ hour break from work to play fucking a Demio campaign. It's not like a fucking game of mini golf. What do you mean a break from work? Like, you stopped working for multiple hours and played video games. Man. It's not. No,
hey, I work in video games, and I work late often, so it works out. But no, I jumped into a game with these guys, and it was so social. I expected it to be a lot more like we're down the business, but like everybody was new, and everybody was just kind of like, "Hey, I just came over from D&D. Oh, how does this work? Oh man, okay, let's work together." It was just it was so collaborative and social, and it was just like, wow, this is kind of like it felt to me, honestly, being in the guild in ESO at first when we first started playing that when I was a noob and everybody who's playing was a noob, and it was all just like, hey, let's learn together, let's figure this out. This is
Yeah, no,
fantastic.
dude.
You know what I mean?
Every time I play a game with someone new, every time I learn some little nuance. You know, like the guy with the last night that we were playing with that told us about the arrow and spell
Yeah.
uh fucking search thing. You know, like that's every time. Yeah, and you know, and like I was playing the other night. I think you were in that game where we were playing with a guy who's level 45 who's clearly played fucking a million times and had no idea that you could tilt the board up and like make it essentially vertical so you could lean
Yeah.
back and play without having to lean over, you know. And he was like, holy shit, you know, and like, you know, so it's amazing that someone who's played that much can be taught something by my ass on level 9, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's really cool and very collaborative. Yeah, it's really fun.
I have not taken the time to friend people. I should have. I've just been jumping in and out pretty quick. Obviously, playing with you guys has been epic long sessions, but at least last night we were victorious.
Yeah, beat the racket. Yeah, that's the first time.
Wow.
That was hard as shit.
Yeah.
We got lucky, dude. We got really lucky because yeah, the key. Amy pointed that out. I think that the key and the door being right by each other, or the key and the start rather being right by each other in that third level was clutch. Because if we'd had to search around there, we didn't have the card inventory to like kill a bunch of other dumb shit, you know. And I mean, I guess you know, a whole bunch of shit certainly converged on that area once we started battling with it. So maybe there wasn't a ton that we missed enemy wise, but still, like I think that could have been much. And the second level, we got the hell out of there and didn't really engage a lot of that level two because that the door and the key were right by each other. So we got pretty lucky, I think.
Yeah,
But
I mean, we definitely like had like the best usage of our weapons and cards. I feel like, you know, dropping bombs on oil lamps and just causing mass explosions. Like we did what we needed to do, you know, the most effective ways. And it was just like, I need more cards at the end. Like I don't know, I can't do more damage than
yeah, I
this.
mean that's like I kind of thought the card thing would
At
annoy
least for
me.
me.
Like I thought the card thing would be because it's like limiting. You know, it's like a very limited way to play a fantasy game like that relative to standard D&D stuff where you kind of have you can do anything, you know what I mean, whatever you decide your character is going to be, that's what you can develop and that's what you can have available to you and yada yada yada. So I thought the card stuff would bug me a little bit, but it doesn't, you know. It's yeah, partly because I got play with the same class and the classes do have class specific cards, so it's not like you're just dealing with whatever random ass cards come to you, you know. So you can kind of develop a because you can spend the money in the shops and you can acquire what cards you want and kind of focus on the things that you like and use well with your level, with the way you play. So, you know, it has more customability, customization capability than I expected with that style of play. But yeah, it's fucking great. It's fucking great.
Have you played any other classes in that game yet?
Yeah, I started with the sorcerer, but yeah, I've latched on to the assassin, dude. I like the sneaking thing, and like, you know, I played with a few people, a few assassin types who like, you know, it allows you the opportunity. You're inclined to stay together and stick together because that's obviously the safest way to approach. But with the assassin, you have the opportunity to stealth off and kind of you can either go do recon and explore, or if you need to like, you know, it's like that little project I went and did with the Gorgon last night, like. You know, you can go off on your own, and you don't need the safety net of the group because you can totally cloak yourself. You know, and that's a really cool. It adds like a really unique style of play or opportunity for style of play that I really like. You know, so yeah, I really like that thing. But yeah, I fucked with the sorcerer a little bit, and like I played a skirmish yesterday where I had is I think I mentioned via text, like it was two assassins and two hunters, so I was, you know, playing with the hunters too, and that's cool. Get the extra card. The range stuff is cool. The line of sight, or rather line of sight strategy is really cool. The thing like you're constantly trying to get to an advantageous higher position, and like, you know, you can fucking tag something on the other side of the dungeon if you got the right thing. You know what I mean? So like, you know, you got to it forces you. The hunter forces you, I think, to be more aware of the whole board. You know, and that's kind of cool too. So yeah, but yeah. The only thing I haven't really fucked with is the tank.
I think I might actually try a tank. I don't know. I want
The
to
way you
switch it up
fucking
just
play,
to
you
see
should.
what
Yeah,
my
you play
thoughts
like
are.
a fucking tank with a sorcerer. Just fucking
Well, I'm used
just
to.
barging into rooms.
Honestly, Honestly, I think it's because I'm used to being like an ESO wizard where I'm so high DPS wise that I
I
just
know. I
rush
told
in
you that.
most
Yeah, you're not
places.
a
You
Skyrim
know?
wizard with fucking draconian armor. Yeah. No, so,
Hey, it worked out. It
yeah, you
worked
did.
out. We succeeded.
In any event.
Does not always work out, but
Yeah. So Beat Saber, Walkabout, and Demiug. Anything else? And Rec Room? Anything else?
yeah, no, that's pretty much it. That's
Yeah.
pretty much it so far. But it's funny because this morning after we talked, Courtney started sharing me another list of other Oculus RPG games and dungeon crawlers. So she's like, "What about this one? Have you tried this one?" I was like, "No, but I will now that you pointed
Yeah.
me in that direction."
Got plenty of favorites. Got plenty of games favorited that are in my quay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I played a fucking shit ton of Walkabout. I started playing multiplayer, and that's actually how that injury I posted the picture of happened. I got too excited trying to show some dude like where on a wooden block to bounce the ball off of, and the Cherry Blossoms hard course. Like just
Uh-huh.
like how to do a ricochet to make a thing, like where, and like I got so excited to share this information again, going back to that communal thing. I just ran up to the block and like totally forgot about my guardian and ran my fucking shin right into the marble.
Oh.
Like it hurt like hell, but you're in the headset, you can't see anything, and like I was like I did that right before my shot, so I just went back to playing, and like I can kind of see right out of the very bridge of the nose. And I just happened to look down at it out of there, and like I saw blood just running down my leg. And, like, I was like, oh shit! The guy like had a fucking like bled all over the floor to fucking run over. And the guy's like, "You need to stop." I'm like, "Nah, man, I'll be fine." I just fucking playing through. Yeah, it was hilarious.
Unbelievable.
But yeah, the multiplayer stuff is so fucking cool, dude. It's the quick match thing. It's so quick and easy. And I mean, I'd say it's the quality of player you get can be a little frustrating. People quitting either because you're whooping their ass or just like people who literally don't know what they're doing, and like that can be a little frustrating at times. But generally speaking, like I said, I've played some games. It's like you do the quick match thing. You just randomly match with someone, and they randomly put you into either front or back nine on one of the easy courses. So you don't get to choose what level you're playing. So it's totally random. But after you play that, if neither of you quit, you'll go back to the main menu and you stay in the room together. So if you've like struck up a conversation and you're vibing, or the game was good, or whatever the hell it was, you remain in the room together, and you guys can then choose whatever you want to do. You can play a full 18, you can play easy, hard, whatever. So like I played some games where you like, you have a really good, really close match. It goes really well. The conversation's good, and you just hang out with the person for like a fucking hour and play a bunch of the harder courses or whatever you want to do. And that's really fucking cool. That it's just like it can either be this really, really single serving thing, or this really lengthy fucking head to head matchup. So it's really cool how well that's done. And I also, there's that game I mentioned, Red Matter, last time. I just started the USSR inspired first person puzzler thing. So yeah, I mean, like the environmental manipulation mechanics are so well done with the way the Oculus controllers are. These claw things, it's just so well mapped to how they actually work. It's really fucking cool. There was this puzzle where you had to move fuses around in this electrical contraption using an in-game diagram. Like, so you like,
Oh wow.
you find this board, you got to like go pick the thing up, you got to like bring it over, and you're like looking at it, and you're looking at the fuses, and you had to like tinker on this workbench, and then test after you set the fuses up in the little box, test the thing that you were arranging the fuses in this diagnostics thing, and it was just so damn immersive. Like, I mean, I'm like fucking, you like drop the fuse, you're like fuck, and you pick the fuse up, and like it's just so good, man, so good. Really fun story too. I finished that, and I would say it was probably like maybe 8 to 10 hours I played on it, and I was a little disappointed with that length, given it's got the high watermark price of $30. Like that's the max you're gonna pay for the game on there, at least so far. I'm sure that'll change, but nonetheless, very enjoyable and cool. So I got out of that, and I'd played a walkabout mini golf game with a dude who recommended, because I mentioned the Red Matter VR, and he was like, "Oh, you should play the Room VR, a Dark Matter." The name of the game is the Room VR, a Dark Matter. So there's a lot of matter in VR puzzle gaming, I guess. So I downloaded that one after I finished Red Matter, and it's set in 1908 London, and you're a detective investigating some weird shit surrounding the disappearance of an Egyptologist. So, like, hieroglyphics, enemies and shit for puzzles, you know, and it is fucking
Okay.
really, really hot and really, really cool.
Wait, what's it called again?
The dark, was it the Dark Room? The Room VR, A Dark Matter.
Okay, the Room VR. Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, really fucking good. I finished that as well. Yeah, that one was probably a little longer. It was had a little more length to it, but really good. Puzzle's great too. Fucking fantastic. And then I downloaded Demio, and yeah, I basically checked the fuck out of IRL entirely now. Full-time resident of the Oasis. If you're a Ready Player One enthusiast, yeah, I don't think we need to talk about that anymore. And then on the caveman gaming era front, the Tadpog dudes Tadpog podcast dudes ripped off or tipped me off about the Dodgeball Academia on Game Pass. Have you seen this or heard about this?
Dodgeball Academia. What?
Yeah,
What's up?
it sounds as cute as it is. It's an anime style schoolyard RPG where the battle system is set in dodgeball games. So you, instead of like random, like think just like Dragon Warrior kind of, but instead of battles with enemies, you get in random dodgeball game encounters, and you have a party of 3 people. Or the party actually gets bigger than 3 people, but you can only use 3 at a time in the battles. Yeah, you just like, I don't know, it's like, you're like little fetch quests, and like you got to go around, you're trying to help either school employees, or like the whole thing is structured around you're a new student at this school that you ran away from home to go to because you wanted to become a dodgeball, so whatever, or some shit. And they do a tournament
Oh, okay.
yeah, they do a tournament at the school, and like like the back burner, at least how far I am into it, who knows where it goes, but the back burner kind of like main quest is working your way through this tournament. But while you're going through the tournament, you're dealing with your own little personal stuff because you just got to the school, and it's like schoolyard dumb shit, and then you got like some rivalries, and you got the establishment, the players, you think they're hot shit at the school already, yada yada yada. So you have all this shit going on to deal with in between the tournament matches, and it's pretty fucking cool. Like the writing is kind of fun and cute. It's not great, but it's not bad at all. It's very anime cartoon style, certainly geared for children, but the actual play style and like the intricacy of the dodgeball matches is shockingly good. Like it's not at all just like whip the ball. There's crazy ass moves you get, and like your characters develop and level up and get new skills and shit that change the way they can both attack and defend. There's a bunch of items and stuff that change the way the strategy with which you would want to play based on what items you're either equipping or trying to equip or trying to acquire. Yeah, there's a pretty good economic system, and yeah, it's shockingly elaborate and complicated, or not complicated, but you know, different layers to it than you would expect for kind of like what looks very much like a children's game. So that's pretty cool. I also tried what I've gathered to be since hearing about it and trying it, a highly controversial game called 12 Minutes from Annapurna. Have you heard about this?
Oh, I've heard that this is very popular now. Like,
Yeah,
what did you think about
it's
it?
the same team that did Outer Wilds, the Annapurna.
Oh, okay.
It's the really highbrow movie studio, or movie production company, I guess I should say, not movie studio. But anyways, yeah, it's on Game Pass, and it's a time loop game that all takes place in a 4-room apartment between a couple and a home invader, right? And like all the things that people have been bitching about in regards to it are mostly accurate. I feel like I was like more annoyed and frustrated, which is it's kind of, it's one of those situations where like you have like this little bit of this grading experience, but it was almost probably intended to be that way, because it's supposed to be frustrating. You're only playing 12 minutes of real time, so each and you're not even getting through it most of the time. The 12 minutes is, I think, if you survive the whole thing, so, or make it through. So yeah, it's like, so like like honestly, the most frustrating thing about it, the doorbell, because you're playing in the loop, so you're just going back through this thing every time, right? And you start the thing, and if it's not the very first time, anyways, you're like, you start the loop like stumbling into the apartment, just having died. You know what I mean? So you're stumbling into the apartment, and your character in the game and you obviously as the player have an awareness of yourself being in the loop. So like your character stumbles through like fuck, like god damn it, like what now? What do I do? How do I make this work this time? So like it's this really fucking mind trippy game for sure. And and that in its own self is commendable that they like it's this incredibly high concept idea. But like every time the invader shows up, he rings the doorbell. So I'm playing this game on the TV, and every time the doorbell rang, it would set Miyagi off. And I was also watching a couple of French bulldogs at the time when I was playing it. So these 3 dogs would just fucking go nuts every like 7 minutes. You know what I mean? So part of that, like, part of the experience being bad was that, like, god damn, I can play this because these fucking dogs would shut up. And I guess I can't blame the developers for that, but it was unpleasant either way. Yeah, like, I don't know. I mean, I did, I played it the one time and I picked it up again and tried it one more time, I think. But it all takes, it's like this top-down view, so it looks like shit kind of. And it's like, it's only these 4 rooms. It's like the living room, a closet off that, a bedroom, and a bathroom. This tiny ass apartment, And like, I don't know, man. And like, here's the thing, it's Annapurna, so the voice actors it's James McAvoy, William Dafoe.
Oh yeah, it's good people, yeah.
Yeah, but honestly, and this is like one of the big arguments that like I listened to this how did this get played podcast, and they did like an hour on it, and they pointed out how like you have this incredible cast of actors, but the way the game works, it's like it's just it's kind of like a logic tree. So like the dialogue is all broken up and shit. And this is basically the actor, and like I said, it's top-down view, so there's no actual facial expressions to allow them to emote or anything. So like, it's like even with that incredible voice cast, it's still like gratingly bad at times because of the way the dialogue, you're just choosing dialogue, you know what I mean? And then you're getting whatever the pre-programmed response to that is from the girlfriend or the invader. It's very choppy the way that kind of works, and like oftentimes, again, because the whole thing is just these little decisions, interpersonal decisions between you and the invader. So like, on top of like failing at things, you're like, the people are saying kind of dumb shit back to you at times, or your options, all of them are kind of dumb. It's just like, it's not open. It does not have enough fluidity to the option sets to feel good, and it's a game that I don't know, just needs to feel better. I think I don't know how to describe it. Really, I fucked around with it a bunch, and and when I was listening to that podcast, they had a spoiler gate on it, and they were like, I decided, like, I was listening to the spoiler gate, and I listened to like their like gripes for the first half or whatever, and they're like, okay, we're going to the spoiler zone, and I was like, fuck it. They're like, I don't want to play this shit, so I just listened to the rest of it, and honestly, after listening to the whole thing, I'm glad I didn't. Or I'm glad I listened. Wow. I'm glad I did it that way instead of wasting my time in the game.
Gotcha.
But yeah. All the fucking, all the bitches that people have about it, and like, I'm not the most like critical fucking, I don't really like to listen to critical analysis of things. Like, it's a piece of art essentially. Like, let it go, and whatever it is, what it is. Do what you want with it. But yeah, it was not. It's definitely not worth the aggravation. I don't feel. I'm sure it probably resonates with some people more than others, but in any event, lastly, I was on my flight to opening day of the Baby Jesus show in Buffalo last weekend, and I remember doing that I hadn't downloaded the 2022 Tecmo Bowl. It's usually what I do on the flights. I usually play Tecmo Bowl, the new one, like the from TecmoBowl.org, and I realized I didn't have the new one yet, so I was like, fuck, and like the second I got home, I downloaded it, and I was pleasantly surprised to find Baby Jesus is on the cover of Tecmo Bowl this year. That's crazy. The fact that the Bills quarterback is getting the cover of games, and I know that's not Madden, but it makes me happier that it's not Madden, actually. Like,
right? Like, you don't want that.
Yeah, fuck Madden. Yeah, I guess if you want to say that, whether or not the dumbass curse, but just like fuck Madden, I don't care less. Like, Tecmo Bowl is such a better game to me that I was so pleasantly surprised to find that. So I've been streaming that a little, along with I had a Shadowgate Kill Quest stream. I did like 3 episodes on and finished that, and that was pretty fun because we've been talking about doing that, but it would never work for a game episode, so it was kind of cool. So I just wanted to jump in and finish, and I was surprised how much I enjoyed that and didn't remember stuff, and I had to look a bunch of shit up as I was playing and stuff. Some frustrating, some reasonable, I think, in hindsight, we're looking at. So I decided to set up a weekly stream of the season for Tecmo. So basically, every Wednesday at 9 a.m., I am going to stream that week's game that week's like the upcoming game that's going to happen that weekend. So I'm going to play throughout the whole season and then actually play a season. So
Nice.
yeah,
True fandom.
Yep.
Transition to video game format.
Yeah, it's like a 20-minute little thing too, so it's cool little, setting up some sort of stream regularity to me is a little bit of a difficult thing, but a quick Tecmo game for 20 minutes once a week, like I can commit to that. So hopefully I can still do it. So that's what I've been playing now. What was that, like 2 hours? Let's go ahead and talk about Super C now.
That little jam is from Area 1, Gates of Fort Firestorm for Super C.
Level lines for this are fantastic.
Right? They're legit. Very detailed.
Yeah, they really, like, they didn't take themselves too seriously, and I love it for this. Like they understand the absurdity of what this game is, and that was a really cool choice by them creatively. In any event, let's talk synopsis for Super C on the Nintendo Entertainment System. Sipping cold lemonade with a couple of native lovelies, which is a hell of a start. Mad Dog and Scorpion, guerrilla warriors extraordinaire, relax on a Rio beach and boast of how they destroyed the vile alien warmonger Red Falcon. Little do they know that Red Falcon didn't flee with his pointed tail between his legs. Instead, he tactically retreated to round up ruffians of the universe, friends from all walks of war, to mount a second assault on planet Earth. One of these new recruits is Jagger Freud, a demented alien from the Black Hole Galaxy, who dishes out punishment with a laser-sharp tongue. Red Falcon has also shuttled in the Babaloo Destructoid mechanism, a giant alien attack tank, which was the primary weapon used to disintegrate the innocent solar system of Tralala. This Babaloo Destructoid mechanism is the gadget on the cover of Nintendo Power Issue 12, by the way. But the genius behind Red Falcon's Earth-conquering concept is his plan to have thousands of intergalactic warriors seep into the brains of the U.S. Army. It's a mind contamination trick which has already taken command of U.S. forces at Fort Firestorm. How do we know that our soldiers have been brainwashed? You can see it in their eyes. Now, if Mad Dog and Scorpion fail to recuperate from their months on the beach in time to destroy Red Falcon's GI-fortified hate nest, his sinister scheme will permeate the world's mightiest power, nuclear missile silos included. And if that happens, we'll all be pushing up daisies. That is probably the best written game synopsis that we have encountered on the Nintendo Entertainment System. It is flowery in just the right way, and a damn good painting of the universe. Really, really, really fucking well done. So hats off to you, Konami. That's dope.
I would say strong to very strong.
Yeah, strong, medium strong. What kind of game is this, Jay? What kind of game are we playing this time?
This is a run and gun, baby. Multi-directional variety, meaning we're going side-scrolling, then we're going vertical scrolling, we're overhead scrolling from time to time, which is really weird.
Yeah,
everything.
Yeah, they mix it up good. Yeah, for sure. So it was released on April 23rd, 1990 in North America, and then that was after a February 2nd release in Japan. So pretty clear, whenever you see the really close release dates, I guess that's more of a thing as you get closer, as you get later in the timeline. It's more of an earlier thing where you have like the really long lead times between the two. But mildly interesting to me that was pretty close. And this day is a barren wasteland for notable history. April 23rd, 1990. Even the music Billboard and box office charts are boring for the week, which I suppose is brilliant marketing work by Konami. If you want your shit to drop when there's nothing else for people to spend their money on. So in addition to all the other marketing, impressive marketing feats surrounding this game, that's yet another one. And the artwork and cover art, the key art is some fucking wicked ass military machismo and evil alien mashup shit going on. There's lots of guns and tanks and steroid fueled abs and all the things you expect to see in a game like this. And the Super C title treatment is up top as it goes, and Super is in a steel and rivet themed font, and the Contra C is the fiery yellow, orange, red gradient style that they used for the OG Contra key art. And again, just masterful work by Konami, different but faintly the same kind of thing going on, and that's really good. And then you also have the classic Konami silver background that is on all the Konami games at the time. And the back of the box has 6 screenshots, not 3, doubling up on the usual there. And it's the tagline is "Shoot first and forget about the questions." And that's nice and aggro as you would want it and expect it to be. And all the copy on the back is unique. It's not redundant from the manual, so that's also always good. So again, they just dumped no shortage of effort into the world building here. And the thing that I like most from it. And if your spread guns, lasers, flamethrowers, and mega shells fail to destroy Red Falcon's 8 levels of terror, including radioactive lava fields, it's all over but for the shouting, the screaming, and the cries from a disintegrating world. Again, dude, it's copyright.
Wow.
Fucking off the chain for this.
No pressure.
Yeah.
No pressure.
So then we have the manual, and Konami is kind of mailing it in with this baby, actually. It's 12 all black and white pages, including covers. And after that synopsis blurb I already read, they offer a couple of short paragraphs on how to fight for your life and everyone else's. In here, they mention that if a second commando joins in on the action, he or she will be in control of Scorpion, not Controller 2. So I should remember that when we were talking about who is who, but I did not. And then they qualify the he or she verbiage by parenthetically, yes, this is the 90s, and women may make just as tough commandos as guys. So Konami trying to drop some backhanded progressiveness on us amidst all the masculine bravado in this game. So, okay. And on page 5, they have little blurbs for each of the weapon pickups here. And I think a really fun one is for the machine gun. It says it gives you rat-a-tat-tat capabilities.
Rat-a-tat.
Yeah. And page 6, usually something reserved for classified info in Nintendo Power. They actually explain how to initiate the sound select mode from the title screen. And you have to hold down A, B, and start at the same time. So it's like it'd be one thing if it's just in the menu, like, sure, whatever, then talk about it. But like the fact that it's kind of like this hidden keystroke that's in the menu, it's interesting to me, And it says here you can choose a new battle tune. It's pretty fun. And page 7, the levels are listed and pictured here, albeit in the form of nearly impossible to parse black and white screenshots.
Right.
More importantly, though, the verbiage used here is great, as I mentioned. And the heading is Red Falcon's Mass Destruction Zones, for starters, and then the level names go like this. Gates of Fort Firestorm, Fort Firestorm's Warped Mind Command Center, Tropics of Torture, Lair of the Jungle Aliens, Massacre Mountains, Jagger Freud's Fruit of the Doom defense line.
That's my favorite.
Yeah, what the fuck is that? That's so good. Radioactive lava fields, and then Red Falcon's Poison Palace. What a rush!
Oh yeah, brother.
That's also fucking extreme. Can you get any more high octane than that lineup of level names?
Love it. Love it.
Page 8 and 9 is a couple of pages of black and white illustrations of the boss goons you square off with in the game, and you have Alien Sergeant in Skins clothing, Babaloo Destructoid mechanism, Crypto Crustacean, Liposuction, Temple of Terror, Jagger Freud Spit Soldier, and Red Falcon. So again, fun enemy names. And we do thankfully have a half page to scroll down our scores on page 11. So that's the manual. How about history, Jay?
Man, so in Japan, this was released as Super Contra: The Alien Strikes Back, which to me sounds like a mashup of like Aliens and Star Wars. So
Which,
it's no wonder it came out in North America as a different name. Like what is that?
All these games have this cinema rip-off shit throughout. Obviously the H.R. Geiger stuff with the aliens in here, so that's no shortage of inspiration.
But it's funny to me that like this game was actually released in the arcades back in 1988. Not that I was frequenting arcades at that point, really, but it's to me it came out much later in my mind than it did. You know what I mean? Like that's early. I find that very surprising.
I wonder. First Contra, I wonder what the release date on the first Contra was, even for NES. Like I wonder. It had to be 88 for sure at the earliest. But I wonder when the arcade of that would have been dropped.
Yeah, it had to be mad early because this is one of the games that like I remember going into my grandmother's house, having a Nintendo in the basement, like way before I ever had one, and being like, "Oh yes, they have Mario Brothers, Duck Hunt, Blaster Master, and then like Contra." You know what I mean? Like that. So it had to be mad early.
Okay, nothing doing on the economic analysis front this time around. Apologies to the budding Ben Grahams of tomorrow out there that are yearning for that stuff. Let's get into the fucking playthrough. That is Jagger Freud's Fruit of the Doom defense theme, bringing us into the playthrough of Super C. And the title screen kicks us off, and it is a fairly simple shit going on for a title screen. It's a translucent iteration of Super, comes scrolling in from both sides of the screen before overlapping and locking together in the middle, and the C fades into place right after that. And if you let it hang there long enough, a demo will start, and both players drop out of the chopper and into stage one. There's no music playing in the demo, which is kind of lame. Select one or two Guerrilla Warrior Extraordinaires, and they show you your status score screen at absolute 0. Then it cuts to a brief but badass sprite art shot of your chopper above the first stage, amid some sunset-hued clouds and lightning, what's behind me, basically. And out of that, you rappel down on a rope to the pavement outside the gate of Fort Firestorm.
It is go time, brother.
Yeah, it's go time. The controls before you get into this baby, it's pretty much as basic gets. So that's right for the genre, though. That's not a complaint. That's a strong suit, I think. A jumps, B shoots. You can run right or left. You can shoot in any direction, though you can only manage shooting straight down if you jump up in the air first. And if you hit down otherwise, you drop to your belly in a firing position or on incline, so go to a knee, but same deal. And the screen is all action, no HUD. I love that. They do display your lives remaining in the form of war medals in the upper left and right corners, color-coded to your pants. And there's no shirts for your sprite, because what kind of 80s or 90s soldier wears a shirt?
It's going to get ripped anyway, bro.
Yeah, I got abs. I'm not wearing shirts. I understand that. Yeah. I haven't worn a shirt since, high school, basically, personally. Do you think the U.S. military even issued shirts to soldiers in the 80s? That's my question.
I think they had it when you were learning, but then the more badass you got, you went from a shirt to the vest in the background above me, and then once you got to ultimate badass level, the shirt, you just had nothing. Shirts, shirtless.
For sure, yeah. That's your,
badass progression. That's what it is.
There are certain career tracks in the military where you accumulate the medals and the things in your sleeves and all that shit, and then there are tracks in the military for the more badass soldiers where you just slowly lose clothing. and how naked you are, how close to naked you are, signifies to your fellow soldiers and the opposing soldiers how advanced you are in the career track.
Beware.
Yeah, if my nipples are out, look the fuck out.
You know what kind of spread weapons, destruction that I'm raining down. So.
Yeah, prepare yourself. So this is the gates of Fort Firestorm, as we've mentioned a few times already, and they got it's kind of like a burnt out urban vibe to it. There's lots of dilapidated concrete structures and bare steel girders everywhere. The dramatic heat lightning continues throughout, despite no precipitation, so that's intense. And there's lots of hills in here to deal with. Controls get a little wonky when you're on those for some reason or another, like when you're climbing hills, which I guess is right. It would be harder to climb hills, but it can be a little frustrating, obviously, control-wise. And you have grunts running at you from both sides, as well as dropping down out of elevated huts. And there's an occasional red grunt, which I'll refer to henceforth as Red Ryder BB gun guys. And those tend to be stationary, either above or below, shooting at a continuous pace in the same direction, up, down at you, or on their belly at ground level, doing the same sometimes, less frequently. And there's also bombs being lobbed out from behind structures by some unseen entity in a few places. And that is kind of it as far as enemies go in this baby. One of the things I was very quickly reminded of that it's never sat right with me about this game relative to the original, and I was almost immediately, oh yeah, that's it. It's the starting gun and the machine gun are the same fucking thing in this game.
Wait, what do you mean? They're not.
Yes, they are. In the first game, you had a pea shooter. When you first start the game, it was like that little pea shooter with the
It's a little white dot, just like
a little
is on
single
this
pixel, right? You start with what looks like the machine gun from the first game in this one, with the big orange or the larger orange bulbs, and that wouldn't be a big deal to me if there wasn't a machine gun pickup representing machine gun that's indistinguishable from the starting projectiles. They do not change from the starting gun to the machine gun. And I understand that getting the machine gun does give you rapid fire, but they also have the R pickup in here too. And that's the rapid fire thing in the first game. I'm guessing it is here too. And it does not give you rapid fire for the other guns, like the spread gun and shit. It does not give you turbo firing. So I was just like, I'm not like that's a mess of a web of like kind of like one of those boards with a tax on it, trying to figure out like what all that means.
Well,
but I've thought about this redundancy every time I play this game in my life, and it fucking bugs me because I'm ornery.
well, first of all, hold on. I agree on the R. The R, it seems to never do anything. Like it says the rapid fire. I'm like, this seems to change nothing for me.
Yeah.
However, I will say I dispute your first claim. You start out with your first weapon. You start out with is a white pellet. It is just a white pellet.
Not
yes, it is.
No,
I started 100% with a white pellet.
Dude,
you cannot dispute my gameplay. Like we played together. I had a white pellet the whole time. I am
watching the playthrough right now, dude. It's an orange it's got an orange thing around it.
You grabbed the machine gun as soon as you got it. It's a
white pellet. It's a white pellet, but it's got an orange thing. It looks exactly like it's got a slightly white center.
Dude,
the machine gun has a black center. I'm looking at the playthrough right now.
Hold on, listen to me. Listen to me. You start with a white pellet. The machine gun
but it's got
an orange, a big round orange pellet that fires much faster. Right now. You hold B and it rapid fires. What do you mean? How are you disputing?
I am looking at the playthrough right now. I am looking at the NES playthrough right now. Pull it up, dude. I'm telling you.
I am looking at it too, and I'm telling you what I see. That's exactly what I see. Also, what do you mean?
The center of the it's got an orange outside. You're out of your mind. You must be colorblind or something then, because it's got the center of the bullet changes a little bit. It goes from like a white hue to a darker black hue, but it looks the same basically.
Are you pulling up our playthrough or any playthrough? Any playthrough?
I pull up the NES playthrough. A long play.
It's a tiny white ball with maybe a very orange outline. Then as soon as you get the M, and there's no rapid fire. As soon as you get the M, it turns into a solidified orange pellet.
No, it's the same exact size. It's the same exact size of a. Well,
it seems very like a different size to me. It's definitely a different sprite. It's definitely a different sprite, and
the center of it changes from a white to a black.
Okay,
but it's got an orange outline. I'm telling you.
I don't know how that seems the same to you. It seems very different to me. I don't know if your eyes are. If your eyes are wearing you some glasses or what.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. And like I said, it's an ornery complaint, but it's something that has bothered me. It's like it's part. Like I think it's part. Like I don't know how else to explain. Like every time I've played this game, I started up and I'm like, it's just fucking a little off from Contra. You know what I mean? It's just like a little fucking weird to me, and like that is part of it. And I don't know what, like it's the super ornery.
It seems the exact same to me. I don't know.
Yeah. In any event, I was immediately reminded by this. So that might be my last complaint, though, if it makes you feel any better.
If that is your level of nitpick of this game, then we're good. I think we're okay.
I seriously think it might be the last time I bitch about something. In any event, I played this level so many fucking times, trying to lay down save states where I didn't catch one en route to the stage completion. And by the way, that's how I rolled throughout this. I did not save state mid stage. I would finish the level and then save state, and until I got through it cleanly, I would just replay it. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
not completely without save state aid, but a little bit of a challenge. I wasn't fucking doing it every few fucking steps.
Oh, yeah. Similarly, I just kind of blew through, but I love this. It seems so much more like Contra than I thought it would be. In my mind as a kid, this seemed like very hard, and we'll get to why that is. But there was definitely the aspect of, oh yeah, it's Contra, let's rock. smashing stuff. Let's go.
Yeah.
Which is great that we were able to just jump in like that. You didn't need the freaking manual. We have it. It's great. It's Contra,
Yeah, that's how guerrilla warrior extraordinaires roll. Which
Shirtless. Let's go.
I just can't believe they cooked up that name for them. Guerrilla warrior extraordinaire is just crazy as fuck. Crazy as fuck 3 words to put together. So I was playing this first stage, dude, and I eventually decided my advantage was a disadvantage and switched over to the D-pad, and that happened in the very first stage. So my first time playing with the standard controller somehow resulted in my getting the spread gun for the first time about two-thirds of this level. So I wasn't, whatever the hell I was doing, I was somehow missing the spread gun with the fucking advantage too. And this completely changed my experience the rest of the way. Like I waxed this level immediately with having a D-pad to work with. So for some reason or another, a joystick, at least me anyways, slows you down immensely and makes this game much harder.
Yeah,
because it's just so much about like that. You have to quickly be able to shoot behind you, and if there's like even however many nanoseconds or frames it is slower with a joystick, or it is slower for a joystick for me anyways, it crushes you in this game. So.
It's death. Yeah, no, you got to keep that spread weapon as much as possible, which is 100% my strategy, because it's so much more fun that way and easier, obviously.
Yeah, for sure. So it's a reasonably easy stroll once you're doing that to the first of many boss battles at the end of the level. And this one is an attack chopper. And it's got 4 guns mounted on the side of it. And the chopper trolls back and forth across the screen above you. There's dickhead grunts that run in from both sides of the screen. And the arena they put you in has this like a recess in the floor that takes up maybe 25% of the screen, and it adds a little bit of difficulty dealing with the grunts and tracking the chopper. And once you waste all 4 guns, a target sensor appears in their place, and the cargo bay door opens up on the back, so more dickhead grunts can kamikaze down on your head from it. And when you dust off the sensor, the explosions crop up all over the chopper as it slowly crashes down below and out of sight in the background. Level 1 over. And yeah, I got there a few times with that joystick, never having the spread gun each of those times, and I got a little bit of trouble, and I would actually have the cargo bay door open and spend some time on
fighting
this.
guys.
I might even have died a few times, but getting there with the spread gun and having that quicker twitch capability, you can just waste this thing before it slowly comes in screen left and then works right, and then I think it's either on its work back to the left or maybe even has to hit screen left before it opens the cargo bay up. But either way, you can waste it pretty much on its first pass over if you have the spread gun.
Oh yeah, it's just so much fun doing that. Like having the spread gun. Yeah, it's game changer.
Yeah, so it's the same way in the first one. It's no surprise at all, but it is just funny at times how just critical having that is and how effective it is on this game.
Yeah, it's like Dino Riki having the fire instead of having a mallet or something, the hammers.
Critical. Run and gun. Well, your ammunition in a run and gun, it makes a lot of sense. That's an important part of it. So they have a hot little sound cue they reward you with after you crack each boss's head. And then you were on to Fort Firestorm's Warped Mind Command Center. And this is our first glimpse at the sequel's biggest change from the first game, a top-down format level that replaces the from-behind perspective levels in the first one. And I feel like we've read praise for these relative to their OG Contra counterparts, and I personally like the other type way fucking better, dude. Way more. I said it in our couch co-op, but these fucking remind me of LGN's X-Men game, and everybody knows if you listen to this podcast at all how I feel about that game. So that's not something I want to hark back to at any playthrough of anything, So I guess that's my second gripe. I guess I do have two. I'm not a huge fan of these.
Well, I think I could see how this would remind you of X-Men, but the more I thought about it, if you think about this as an homage instead to a game like Commando, which is this kind of exact viewpoint, then I'm like, okay, if you're thinking of it that way, I could see how you would love this, because I loved Commando, which was this exact same style, but like I could throw grenades, which like that, having that as a game changer. But also here, I have a spread weapon, which I didn't have in Commando. So like, if I look at it like that,
how do you feel about it relative to those POV things from the first game, though?
I mean, I think I do like these better. I think I do like these better because I hated those things in the first game. Like those were just hard in the first game. You know what I mean?
I really love the you go into your belly and shooting the things rolling out. Like it's just the controls were so much better. Like I mean, like, you know, I hate like the slow moving. I hated these. I hated those. I mean, you know, it was not unplayable, but I looked forward to those POV things in the first game, or I do look forward to them. I did not look forward to these.
You know what I think it is? If losing the ability to jump on this overhead view,
Exactly.
If the technology was available, like if this was like remastered and that you were able to still do your jump, but multi-directional, like you can.
So you're saying maybe scroll the camera back a little bit to give you more of a behind look? Is that kind of what you're describing there, Jeff?
No, I'm saying leave it as is, but you can actually just like now you can't jump. You can just jump from, you know, one square to the other square in either direction. You know?
I mean, I didn't even think of that
to avoid fire.
That is probably a big part of it. That that absolutely, because I mean, using your jump in this game, especially because it's the tight roll thing, so it literally constricts your sprite and essentially makes you harder to hit in a game that is all about avoiding getting hit. And you just do not you completely lose that defense mechanism in those top-down levels, and that is probably I hadn't even thought about it. That's probably what it is.
There are times when we were playing together, and I wanted to jump to avoid and I was like, I hit the
mouse, the liposuction things in 6. Suck City for sure.
So if I think they could have done that, you know, kind of like I guess Dino Riki is that way, like the jump was kind of like that. So if they had added that here, and that would have made the difference.
That was hands down the shittiest part about Dino Riki too. So hopefully they would have done a better job, and I think Konami would have probably.
But that's really the only difference. Like if I think of it otherwise, like a Commando homage, those type of games, it's like okay, I could see where they were going. Like if you have the spread, great. If you don't, suck city. That's
Anyhow, this is a military compound of some generic kind. It has the same grunts as level 1, as well as some stationary tanks that you can cheese the spread fire of quite easily, I would say. It's like they have like the 3-pronged attack, and you just have to line yourself up to be to the right or left of the middle one, and they're pretty easy to avoid. And a notable thing about these top-down levels is they have a unique death animation for your guerrilla warrior extraordinaire. He just falls down onto his back and then disappears. And on the side-scrolling levels, you do that somersault before landing on your back, you know. So it's fun that they, again, paying attention to details, little details, and giving some different shit to look at. Not always effort put forth in an 8-bit NES game. And getting the spread gun here is an even bigger cheat code than usual. I wrote that down as well. It's laying down turbo fire with it allows you to waste pretty much anything and everything as it's coming onto the screen if you have turbo.
Yeah, I remember getting the fireball at one point on this level, and it definitely does so much damage if you can, you know, line it up. It's good that the ball is, you know, pretty good size, but you still have to do a better job of avoiding fire with that. And then obviously I got the the S after that. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna stick with the S now.
Yeah, the spread gun, especially in this level, I would say even more so than the side-scrolling ones. It's essentially like a fucking force field. You know, you're just literally just wasting anything in front of you.
Deflecting.
Yep. So the boss battle for this is a tank manned by 3 dudes, all of them have machine guns they lay down fairly continuous fire with, and the tank itself has a couple of prongs that stick out in front of it, and between them an electrical charge is always present that will frag your ass. And like with that sticking out in front of it, its movement pattern is, you know, you'd think it'd be capable of going all the way down to the front of the screen to prevent you from being able to avoid it down there, to force you, funnel you to the sides and like create that variance. But it doesn't. Like I was actually surprised at like I was able to stay alive down there, and then I was also surprised by how easy it was to get behind it and just avoid that entirely, and like it wouldn't go all the way up to the wall either, you know. So I mean, it's a second level boss, whatever, but it was like this was the first battle frag situation for me. I don't know about you.
Oh yeah, I just nuked this thing like no problem. No problem. You can just stand off to the corner of it, lay down the S, like the guys die fairly quickly.
Right. So then we are on to Tropics of Torture, and this is jungle action. And there's lush greenery all around, a thick tropical tree canopy above, a grassy, mossy covering on the ground. And this is, I would say, this is probably the most like vibrant, colorful level. I actually intended to switch my here. I'll do it. Fuck it. I got editing capability.
Do it.
Let's do it right now. So you encounter some wading pools halfway through the stage, and so this is your first encounter with water, and the water is up to your waist when walking normally through it. So when you hit down, your sprite disappears beneath the water entirely, and I love that. That's so fun.
So helpful, yeah.
So we have some new mounted guns here, a machine gun that pops up out of the ground and shoots below the knees, and there's also a mortar cannon that fires bursts of fire up into the air that rain down in like maybe 10 to 15 projectiles all over the screen. And yeah, you got to frag those mortars immediately. Like once they get a shot off, not easy to avoid at all. You know, and like that's got that's. No, what are you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna say the guns as well that pop up. You got to be quick on your feet, like just. Yeah.
Get rid of them. Get rid of them stat. Yeah, with the mortar too, it was like, you know, like there's only one of them in the stage, so it's just like it's not like you got to do this a bunch. But like it's like it was one thing that we even did it on our playthrough. I think again, we're like you like that. It's weird in the way it blows up. You have to give it a second to walk through it. Like it has like a little bit of an extra kill radius than most things when they blow up. So I don't know if that was a conscious choice or it's like a little fucking code glitch or whatever, but you got to like kill that thing and wait a fucking second before you proceed through it, which is hard to do because when you're shooting it, it's going to get a shot off. So your goal is to kill it and run out of the area that the shit's raining down, you know? So like you're incentivized to run, but you got to wait. It's just like a super tough thing to program yourself to do, especially in a game where you're just trying to fucking go as fast as possible.
It's like, don't run into the blast radius.
So running kamikaze grunts are a little purple here, and I'm guessing that was just a color palette thing to differentiate them from the green scenery, but it's a little different all the same. And there are a heightened number coming from above out of the tree canopies relative to the first stage, I would say. So you got to, you know, you're pretty much like I go through the stage just keeping cover fire on the trees, you know, and then move down to ground level when something presents itself because the shit comes out of the trees kind of fast, you know.
Exactly. There's either guys shooting or guys jumping. Like we got purple ninjas or we got freaking snipers.
Red Rider BB gun dudes pop out of the tree. And after the water stretch, you cross a fallen log bridge to a paved concrete area where it's boss battle time, and this is maybe the funniest phrase in the game, if not that Destructoid, or not Destructoid, but the fucking Jagger Freud, whatever the hell it is. This is the Babaloo Destructoid mechanism, and yeah, that is just maybe my favorite boss name ever, to be honest with
you. Wait a minute. Babaloo Destructoid mechanism?
Babaloo Destructoid mechanism. That's this thing's name.
That's fun. That is great to see.
Yeah. Like, what kind of drug were you on where you cooked up that sequence of putting that sequence of words together? Babaloo. So it's basically a big metal spider, and it even has its own music crank. This thing crawls back and forth from screen edge to screen edge, very deliberate and predictable. And 2 or 3 times a pass, it will stop and fire 3 sine wave projectiles in both directions. So one up very high, one at jump height, and then one at standing head level. So you can go to your belly and duck beneath the lowest one, which is clutch. Yep. And you can shoot it at any time, and it's like center hub takes the damage, so you want to shoot it there. And the tricky part about this is it tracks you all the way to the screen edge, so you can't hide up against it, and you can't jump over it. So it will run into you and kill you if you just run from it, you know what I mean? So it took me, like, I did not get this at first at all. You have to basically get ballsy and jump right on top of its center, which in a Contra game, touching a boss, dude, like, you never, like, that's, no, you can't do that. You die from everything in Contra, right? So, yeah, it did not occur to me immediately to try that as a solution to this game. But,
I immediately jumped on top of it. I stayed on the corner just shooting it and jumping down, and as soon as it came near, I was like, wait, this is the flat top like thing? And I jumped on, I was like, oh yeah, I just boom.
So you remembered it?
Instinctually. Yep, I remember.
Yeah, see,
yep.
Dude, I had never seen this. I had never got this far.
I
guess that's worth mentioning. Yeah, we are already to a place where I never got as a child. So
look at that, blazing new territory.
So you have to jump on top of it, and you're essentially just waiting for it to walk back in the other direction, and you can jump down and tag it and hop back up on top of the nears. And I felt, at least, maybe I was wrong, but I felt you could influence how far it ventures away from the edge of the screen. So if you like hang out on the right side of the middle part of it, it will keep walking to the right. So you can essentially control when it starts moving back. So you can try to get it to the full other side of the screen before you jump off and start tagging it again, So that's cool. Little puzzle manipulation there. And it's, again, dude, this game does this a bunch of times. And such a great way, but they mix it up on you after the boss battle as the stage does not end and you realize it was just a mini boss battle, which is not, you don't get that anywhere else in the game. So it's just like a to break format. It's just a cool choice for a game like this, because usually it's just kind of this repetition. That's what I hate about shooters and stuff. It's like the fact that nothing changes and you're just pushing buttons for so you get to the
Instead, they drop this named mini boss here, and there we go.
It's pretty fun. So yeah, you are immediately pushed into a sequence where a seismic event of some kind is making pillars. This is tough, yeah, for sure. And so yeah, the columns of earth like fall out from underneath you, and some fall away entirely, creating a pit. Others just sink partially and create like an incline, a stepped incline. You have to work your way up, and there are goons running in from both sides the whole time. And yeah, it really fucking sucks. I would eventually learn to just inch my way through it. It's it reminds me a lot of Sonic the Hedgehog, in that like it's this, it's the kind of game where you want it, like you're encouraged to just go, but it's a moment where you have to put the brakes on and inch your way through it if you want to really be safe, because you cannot, there's no way of, unless, if you memorize where each thing is, sure, but if you don't have that memorized, then you got to kind of aggro it and see what it's going to do and then make a decision, you know what I mean? So, and that's obviously tough to do with enemies coming in all times. So
hands down, the single place where I lost the most lives playing this game. Yeah. Actually, no. Second to one other place.
Yeah, that's tough for sure. Yep. Eventually, the screen stops shaking, the earthquake ends, and you are confronted with a real boss battle. And this is a huge sensor machine that comes rising up from the ground, and it has 4 floating gun sensor combo things that move around in this diamond-shaped track that also has some track jutting out all the way to the edges of the screen, or close to, anyways. And the little guns can slide out into those. And the center is a non-combative master center that you have to frag as well, and you do not need to kill the satellite sensors first, so it's in your best interest to just kill that if you can. My most successful tactic was, of course, rolling in with the spread gun and positioning myself just to the right of where the bottom middle sensor stops and just firing it straight up, which is kind of the answer to a lot of the boss battles.
It's all about positioning. It's Contra. You got to find the right place to stand, especially if you have the spread weapon, so you can get the maximum damage and not get hit, or you can just easily just adjust back and forth.
So then it is on to the lair of the the next stage, and you are in a subterranean tunnel here, and it constricts the free space in the environment where there are not bullets, i.e. places to jump and not die considerably, and that is complicated, of course. The color palette is a lot of green metal and blue background electronics going on, and there are lots of red and green grunts in here, as well as ceiling-mounted bubble blowers that you have to basically dump on at all times if you want to make it under them without getting fragged. They're in the ceiling, and they're just like spewing bubbles out. They keep floating around. So if you have any of those floating around, it obviously makes it super tough because the dudes are running in at all times from both sides,
Yeah.
And then at the end of the tunnel, they introduce a pretty cool new environmental hazard, a collapsing ceiling of bombs, and it doesn't start falling when you run under it. You have to shoot it to make it start falling. And the aliens kindly built a series of platforms for them to land on that you can safely hide beneath. So it's not particularly threatening of a trap, but cool nonetheless. So that was nice. And it also doubles as a gate to start ascending a shaft heading up out of the lair. And there are tons of mounted guns in here. There's the circle ones, which we've seen, that can shoot in all directions. There's also ones attached to horizontal tracks that slide from side to side, and those are kind of biatches, a little bit tough to get through. And there are doors with winged dudes running out of them in groups of 3. Thankfully, they're just kamikaze attackers with no gunfire. And there are also little red and blue globules that I immediately recognized from Contra 1, which I had to look up exactly where they're in, but it's the stage 4 boss in the original Contra, the Phantom Image Core, which I did not realize that the original Contra also had crazy ass cool names. It's just, I don't know, it's such a good job. So it's the second POV stage actually of Contra 1. So yeah, so it's a tough ass sequence. This one took me a while to get through too. The ascent part, and even in our couch co-op, we had trouble there. This is a tough stage.
It's funny. In our couch co-op, we had much more trouble in my solo play. Like I flew through this one.
Really?
Yeah, like
it is because of the autos.
With the spread weapon, you don't have to worry about somebody else's like movement. Right. Was the difficulty.
The auto scrolling aspect of it is where anytime you have auto scrolling in a 2-player game, you're then you have to take into consideration the other players' fucking positioning and making sure you're not fucking flipping them off the bottom of the screen. And we did this and the Massacre Mountain or whatever. We had that same problem where we had some deaths that were just literally a result of one player going and the other feeling.
So, and it moving more than you would expected it to have moved, and it's like, wait a minute, how did that? Hold on,
Which is, that's par for the course on this era of gaming, for couch co-op, same screen stuff. So can't really complain about it, but it would have been like if a game would have figured that out, you know what I mean, in some way. That would we would have, oh my god, holy shit, that's good, you know what I mean? So it's it's not like I have a solution or what the solution could have been, but it would have, if someone could have figured it out, that would have been really cool. So you survive all that and reach the top, and it is boss battle time again. And this is just a big laser gun with a ton of barrels side by side hanging above you, and it moves side to side, and you have to take out the barrels one by one, or maybe a few at a time if you have the spread gun, and it will move all the way to the edge of the screen, even clipping off part of the mount where no laser barrels remain. So it leaves you nowhere to stand that isn't getting hellfire rained down on top of it. And its detection of guns remaining sensor could use some calibration, though, I would say, because I was trying to say this during, I don't even know how to communicate it exactly. I was trying to explain it in our co-op, but like it would, like if you could blow up one of the guns just as it was coming to the edge of the screen, it would kind of, I guess, act as if that was still there and essentially give you space to stand under. You know what I mean? So like, at least that's how I found it to be, and that's how I survived this, is as long as you were blowing up one as it was coming towards the edge of the screen, it would act like that wasn't blown up and only move that part of the gun to the edge of the screen so you can still, stay alive, basically.
I thought it would move out of the screen. Like I thought I tried that, and that's why I died in our 2-player. I'm like, wait, what? Because I played a completely different way. I just like moved to one side of the screen, spray, then ran to the other side when it was coming back, and just stood on that side until things started dying. Just kind of transitioned back and forth.
That probably is a more reliable way to do it, but I didn't feel like it was like it would like clip right through. I mean, I guess there was a moment where before it started to cycle back the other way that you can maybe get underneath, but it was a pretty rapid fire, and I just didn't trust fucking timing that out. So I was like trying to find other solutions. So you move from there to Massacre Mountains that we just talked about, and the Konami Game Wizards continue their effort to keep shit fresh in their Contra games here, as this stage is a vertical climb, and it's very reminiscent of the vertical mountain stage in the first edition, stage 3, and its color palette, and just kind of the way it works. And all the platforms are inclines, though, in this case, so that's much more challenging to traverse, of course. And there's lots of the usual kamikaze grunts and Red Rider BB gun guys throughout this, as well as gun turrets that pop out of wells in the sides of the mountains that sometimes double as power-up sources. And we also get one new enemy here where they take the Red Rider BB gun homies and they've been issued jetpacks. And they buzz around on those. You know, they usually fly up the sides of the screens. And flying enemies are always a pain, and these do not deviate from that norm, I would say. And then later in the stage, we get the expected mountain rock avalanche because no video game mountain range isn't under the kind of constant sedimentary erosion that normally takes millions of years for the Earth to manage.
Oh my gosh, I died a few times here, like just trying to just rush through it. And I was like, wait a minute, I gotta, kind of like you said before, I gotta hold back for a second, wait for this to develop, shoot it, and then go.
Yeah. Or you can even just let them roll by, but either way, yeah, you can
Right.
just, they drop down pretty randomly.
I like the Leroy Jenkins it sometimes.
Yeah. That is your final mountain trial, though, as the game then transitions to a valley that has been carved out of the mountain that you can descend into via the rooftops of military installation that's been built into it. And the kamikaze grunts spill out of it incessantly, mostly from doorways that you have your back to, and there's a few hidden gun turrets that pop out of the ground on your way to the boss battle. And the boss battle here is Crypto Crustacean, which he is pictured in the manual, and that's a great fucking name as well, and an even cooler looking sprite, I would say. It's shaped like a turtle shell, but the shell casing is made up of human skulls, so it's very, very wicked. And there are two hinged doors on each side, out of which it chucks these chattering skull sprites, and those drop down and then move along the bottom of the screen. And then it also has three ports on its underbelly that periodically release these homing spore looking things. And you can shoot all that shit, and it only takes a shot or two to take them out, but the screen still gets pretty damn busy here, you know. And then lastly, the prick will I don't even know how to avoid this really. It's just kind of like an auto death, but the prick will dip all the way to the ground and crush you, you know, at times.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Like, how do you get out of the way unless you run to the side and you're just, it's tough.
And I don't even know if it's speed-wise possible. And then you also obviously have the things that are murking up the ground that you'd have to avoid in doing that. So yeah, that very, very tough to avoid those deaths there. But it also has a flashing sensor, center mass, and that is what you're trying to end it via. It took me, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 whacks at this dude to take him down. I couldn't find any cheesy tactic with him, so it was just kind of like you have to brute force your way through it. You know, have enough lives and brute force your way through it.
Surprisingly enough, on this one, I stood in the right spot with the spread and killed it on the first try. But I was very active. Like, I was not standing there like in a special spot. It was more like I'm standing here spraying. There's stuff that's escaping my spray, so I got to adjust the spray each time and avoid, the bombs. And I got through it, but I took it down on the first try.
I use, and this is for a lot of the bosses, I would do this. I would actually stay very stationary, and because if you stay stationary, everything, because it's coming from both sides, and the things will home on you. What's the word? It will home on you at the same time, basically, like in a synchronized fashion. So you can if you just jump straight up, you can keep firing the whole time. You don't have to stop firing because you're jumping straight up and you're right. You're trying to stay underneath the sensor. But if you just jump up, the things will just pass underneath you at the same time. And I would do that a lot for a lot of the bosses, and that kind of worked for me here. But that does not change the fucker coming down on top of you.
Yeah.
So when you do send that fucker crashing down, your boy heads right into an opening in a purple biomass that does not look promising for the fun factor to be had inside. After these messages,
that looks like we'll be right back.
Six great issues plus 6 free strategy guides on a hot new game. That's twice the power for still $15. Wow, call now.
That is a 1990 Nintendo Power commercial imploring us to get the power. Everything will be extreme. Everything will explode. Everything will be wow. Because that's how we fucking rolled in 1990. You better recognize. Subscribe now.
100%.
Yeah. Fucking 1990, everything is fucking
High octane, bro. Let's go. It's rad.
Right. And that we are now rolling into Jaggerfreud's Through the Doom defense line here in the game. And what is it, stage 6? 5?
6.
6.
No, stage 6, and easily the hardest stage in my opinion. Like the freaking worst.
Yeah. And this is, because this is a top-down joint. And as the entrance suggested, it has a living organism vibe to the floor and the walls. And the first stretch is populated with these blue spider deals with a projectile. They'll fire you. And there's enough of them where you have to keep your head on a swivel, I would say, to stay alive. And they try to constrict the space to funnel them at you more easily at times. And then after you pass that part, the level opens up into what I'd equate to a desert kind of sandy looking area, even though it's inside of an alien body. And these large mouth sprites appear randomly over the screen as you're trucking through there. Spiders resist as well. The mouths are pictured in the killer alien section of the manual, and they are named liposuction. So LIP-O-suction. And that's just such, again, an early 90s video game fucking thing, I think. And yeah, that part was hard as hell, particularly when we were couch co-op, and that was very, very difficult stretch, And I don't know why it was easier. I guess they're probably aggroed by how far the person is on the screen, and when you're alone, you can kind of control that, obviously. You know what I mean? But when you have someone else playing, that shit can be cued by when it's just. I think it made it really tough.
Yeah, it added to the complexity for sure. Like it was not easy solo at all. Like I wrote down in my notes, mad hard level. Like, like it was not easy, but yeah, even 2-player, even on the next part after this, where the guys start swirling around you.
Yep.
Like when I had my spread weapon, I could easily destroy it, and it was a non-issue. But like losing that, and it's like all of a sudden everything just falls apart there. It becomes a completely different mechanic altogether.
Totally ill-equipped to combat this environment.
Right?
That's what I was trying to say to the Costco too. Like you didn't even need to kill those things to circle around you. You could just if you just walked, they would perfectly circle you. They did not actually swarm onto you. So you could just walk with them surrounding you, and as long as you didn't move to the side or anything, they were not a threat. You know what I mean? So that's what I was trying to say to do, but it was easier said than done because obviously a bunch of shit's going on also. And then for it to work, you would have to both of you sync perfectly into walking. You know what I mean? And impossible, basically. So,
get me out of this part. Advance as quick as possible.
Yeah. So yeah, in so many places, obviously, just having double the gunfire was a bonus. But yeah, there are certainly parts where the 2-player thing hurt you as well. So that's an interesting strategical aspect of the couch co-op part of this game. And the floor becomes a deep royal blue, and there's these holes. You go into this kind of tunnel hallway area where these spiky globule sprites come out of, and they're fast and frequent enough where you can't just outrun them. So you have to engage to clear and proceed. And again, having the spread gun here is pretty fucking critical. So you transition out of that tunnel, and the floor turns red, and you run into a membrane of some sort that you have to blow the smithereens out to pass through, and that takes you into the boss battle arena. And it is the boss here is kind of one of those big stationary, almost like a machine, but it's biological in this case, and it's a row of 5 conjoined alien heads attached to each other, kind of like Siamese twin style, with a big ass mouth full of teeth that fire bullets out of you when they open. So you have that at the top of the screen, and then you also have what's behind me right now, basically. You have the 2 tubes at the side of the screen, and in this first half of the battle, the shit just comes spatting out of it, like the spiked globules that we saw earlier, and then you essentially need to blow the mouths up, and like while they're open. So this game does this a lot where like you have to like the time it is vulnerable is the time it is also attacking. So you have to it restricts the amount of time you have and the strategy you have to use to get fire down onto it or into it while it's attacking you. And you're still avoiding the bullets. You know what I mean? So wee bit tricky. I was able to dance my way through the crossfire for a first time frag in this case, and after that it explodes, the boss music drops out, and then a huge dark tunnel entrance takes the place of the heads. And did this get you here?
No, I was like waiting. Like I didn't know it was going to change, but it seemed way too easy because I nuked it in like 4 seconds. So it's like I was like, is that all? So I just kind of sat there for a second, and I was like, okay, there's more.
It totally fucking got me here. I was standing there after I died, just waiting eagerly for the catchy area clear music to go, and for like it was a longer than reasonable amount of time before I was like, wait a minute, something's about to happen. I did have spider tingly senses like at the last moment before something happened. But yeah, they basically pull the rug out from under you here, and then the floor starts rattling. A different boss battle cue rips in, so you get two different types of music here, which is cool. And then a single huge ass head drops down in front of that tunnel that you're standing at, and that's the head that's behind me right now. So that thing right there, which is this is probably my favorite looking boss, I would say. Nice. And yeah, so you have this. You have a thing with one mouth, which is a little easier to manage on the projectile front, and then a huge ass like a flying snake comes coasting out of the tunnel and then circles around you, the lower half of the screen, and then goes back into the next tunnel and comes out of both sides. So this is another instance where it's kind of the same idea as I was talking about earlier, where if you just stay super still and get in the right place, the snake goes in the same track if you're standing dead center of the middle, or close to, just offset. Or actually, no, you can stay in the dead center because you can. The projectile that comes out of the mouth, the head this time, you can kill. So you couldn't shoot the bullets on the first version of it, but this one, if you're laying down fire on its mouth at all times, you'll blow up the projectile that comes out of it, so you don't have to move. You know what I mean? So again, if you have the spread gun here, it's even easier. But you can basically just stand that in the perfect center mass on the screen and just keep firing. And if you're in the right place vertically, that thing will just snake around you, and you can literally just shoot till it dies.
I think I just naturally like the move. Like I definitely focused on the snake thing first and killed it, and then just killed the mouth. Like it was easy. I think I just like to move around. I think that's my strategy. I like to move and avoid. I expect stuff to be coming at me, kind of like Doom style. Like, all right, what I'm avoiding the fire. I'm gonna keep laying down fire. I was still not a hard boss. Great sprites, cool looking, but took it down first try.
Yeah, I am an efficiency driven human being, so I am always the path of least resistance to accomplish this task.
I think because of that, because I'm that way at work, I kind of just let loose in gaming. Like I said before, Leroy Jenkins, let's go. You know.
So we move out of there to the radioactive lava fields, and this doesn't look anything like a radioactive lava field to me.
Oh, it looks like bubbles or underground freaking like underground terraforma type stuff.
Well, I equated it to, maybe this part is just knowing the fucking Contra lore, but I equated it to being inside of a massive alien being.
Sure, 100% could be that.
Yeah, which I guess does not preclude it from being radioactive and filled with lava technically, but it doesn't look like lava. In any event, they continue to try to mix it up on you, game format wise, by making you jump down a hole and do a descent here, and like we mentioned in the co-op, like that, like spend a moment like, what do I do here?
Like, do I go down? Or are you sure? I'm not going to die and lose my spread weapon.
Exactly right. Yeah, am I get penalized here for just not knowing how to interact with you? So you're heading down a lot of declines with kamikaze grunts, and they're skinned a coolest so far red hue this time. And these purple erect blobs I liken to the purple tentacle in Maniac Mansion, which we still haven't got to for you yet, but I look forward to exposing you to. And those fire projectiles in a lob trajectory that can be problematic if you don't kill them before they wobble close to you. So you basically, like with these, you're kind of just trying to get to their level where you can crouch down and shoot them before they get close enough for the bullets to hit you. And then you have the complication of the grunts coming at you from behind while you do that. And the grunts too, it's worth mentioning, the grunts have scythes in place of their arms and hands that like they're, again, just the coolest version of these sprites, I think. And that's pretty fun. So yeah, this is actually where I noticed for the first time that your crouch became or your go to a belly thing becomes a knee, and that's like a very aggro Rambo type.
I don't know if it happened. I don't know if it was like that before, but here, yes,
yeah,
specifically.
Yeah. So after the declines, you hit a sequence where you have to shoot your way through the floor, which is made up of a green organic matter that it reminded me a lot of Life Force, like the stuff you have to shoot through in Life Force, you know. The
I'm
things
thinking
that
like
grow out.
alien eggs to me,
Right.
like, you know,
Yep.
busted through the hive.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good. Yeah. Surprise! I was shocked that they did not throw enemies at you in this area. So it's really just busy work. We just
Right?
jumping
Yeah, I
up
was
and shooting
surprised
down.
too. Yeah, like there's a couple at the very beginning, and then
Right.
after that, you're kind of just left alone until you get through it.
Which was surprising. I mean, I guess because you would have no movement. And again, we talked about having movement in this game is critical to staying alive. You're just trying to avoid the part of the screen that doesn't have fire. That's
Yeah.
so much of this game is about. So yeah, it was only a matter of time, but the Konami team finally goes full HR Geiger after that, and we get a large stationary xenomorph alien egg where what bursts out of them is without a doubt facehuggers. It's like it's just like no effort to differentiate itself from that those creatures, you know.
Yeah, I mean what did we say the name of this game initially was? Freaking Alien Strikes Back.
Right.
You know, like come on.
Yeah. Don't know that. Well, that's exactly why they changed it to the U.S. because shit's a little tougher here.
You cannot be that on the nose, people.
Yeah, right. Yeah, if I can make some level of effort. So the area after that part where you have to shoot your way through, you pretty much there's a spread gun pickup that flies up just after you drop out, and you just have to get that because yeah, you're dropping down these platforms with those facehugger eggs, and they just I mean we eventually did, and I guess. So I guess it's possible. When I was playing first player, I did not perceive it as realistic to drop down and shoot those things before you would die. So in my mind, I used the spread gun to slowly, like I would do the because you have very little head clearance room above your sprite. So I'm doing these little mini jumps and just trying to get a spread projectile to go down there and hit it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Before
Before
I would jump down at all. Yeah, and I mean honestly, there were a couple times where it was kind of like a glitch where like you could see just the part of it and it wasn't shooting things out yet. And when like I would shoot it and it would die, but it wouldn't even disappear. It wouldn't do the blow up animation. It wouldn't die, but it was gone when I would drop down, So like I was clearly trying to do something the developers did not expect. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely had more problems with this. I mean, I died on the 2-player, but not like first player. I just kind of dropped down and spread weaponed it quickly before, or I think at one point I got the flame, but still like that's so powerful. It really wasn't a problem. I dropped down, was able to kill it before, and piece
those
up
things are only the facehuggers are only like a one-hit death thing. They're not, you don't have to get a bunch of fire.
But they're quick, so if they catch you slipping, then
Yeah.
they caught you.
Yeah, 100%. So I was able to breeze through those once I had the spread gun without too much, again, because my hyper fucking slow way of going through it. But you reach the bottom after you finish that and you have to do this long, which is another instance of like super meaningless thing when you're playing the 1-player. But when you're playing 2-player, that long drop can kill you, can kill the other player if they're not keeping up, So that's like we had to like time. We were like, okay, 1, 2, 3, go, which is kind of. Like you probably would do that if you were 2 soldiers hanging out together. You're gonna jump together off your little fucking thing to do your jump down. So whatever. But you get out of that, you drop down to the boss battle, and the boss battle here is the Temple of Terror. That is also in the alien section, picture section of the manuals, the sketches. And it is also critical to have the spread gun for this battle, or it would be a biatch. With it, you can just stand right in the middle and waste everything. And this was this instance where I was literally just standing right in the middle, just slightly offset, I think, and just jumping up. Yeah. And I mean, the things come fast enough where it's not easy to do that, but it is possible. You know what I mean?
It's very reminiscent to a Contra boss, like in the movements, like one of those.
Yep.
Bigger structures.
Yep. The one with the alien, the one with the alien arms. That's it's like an orangish brownish hue. I think that might be the one that's at the top of the mountain actually in the first game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I managed that all right in first time fragged it. So
Yep. Same.
Moving on to Red Falcon's Poison Palace, and just another stage naming for the ages there. That's great. The color palette in here is more of the purple and green vibe, with the floor and ceiling being comprised of skulls and alien exoskeleton tidbits. The music is very eerie in here. And there's some liposuction mouths woven into the fabric of the ceilings, floors, platforms throughout the first half of the stage. And they spit out a slow-moving homing projectile. It's actually the same things, I think, that come out of the crypto crustacean belly, you know, those orange kind of starburst things. And the grunts in here are even more xenomorphy, and while that is probably an intentional plagiarizing of Geiger shit, it is very cool to me that they are clearly a more developed version of the grunts in the last stage. So, you know what I mean? It's like, these are like the full-fledged, what do you call that? What the fuck do they? It's like a Tropic Thunder reference.
These are grown aliens right now. You're not messing with the baby eggs now.
Right,
like
exactly.
it's like an environment change. Like when I walked into this level, because of the colors and the vibe, it immediately felt to me like, oh man, this is last stage Contra. You know what I mean? Like I'm in the belly of the beast. Let's go, aliens. Let's rock. You know.
Yep. Yeah, like I said, the music change is a big one here. So storytelling without saying it's everything to me. And I love that, both with those sprites, how the things are getting better, the music, all that's fucking great. It's done very well. And you work your way through the opening sequence. You do an ascent up some inclines with the same grunt liposuction obstacles, plus some, and these we talked about these, how easy these can catch you. We were doing the couch co-op, but the organic gun turrets that pop up out of the floor, right?
Oh,
yeah, those are, they come up super fast and they have fire on top of you immediately. So when you ascend, you almost have to, like, I almost want to say, I think I might have got lucky on the very first one, but even knowing that in future runs through the stage, like those would catch me quite often because they're just they come up so fast and they are firing on you so fast, you know.
They catch you slipping quickly.
Yep. These are also pictured in the sketches. They're Jagger Freud spit soldiers, and they are pretty dope looking, I would say. They try to dupe you at the top of that ascent too. You enter a long stretch of inactivity with really high ceilings that totally has the feeling of like, I'm entering a boss battle arena, you know, and then nope, rug out from under you. Womp womp, the ceiling drops down just to like a pixel or two above your head, you know, and this is the start of what you said. I forget what you said now was the tough. Oh, level 6. To me, this was the toughest leg of the game.
That's why I said that was second to.
Oh, yeah.
This is
Yes. So the ceiling is essentially raising back up and then dropping down to that same height throughout this whole stretch. And it leaves you, I mean, legitimately zero wiggle room above you. So you have this whole time you have grunts as you work through this area. The grunts are coming at you from both sides. They're just, you know, they're jumping over the pits, which are a bunch of those. So you have to jump pits, even though you sometimes don't have headroom, you know. And there's also like as you're like you get to those pit areas and like even in they materialize in the rock and then can move through the rock down on top of you, so you can't like these it was in rows of 6, you know, and they would fucking they're just whatever fucking gelatinous fucking things, and they float down towards you, and you have to shoot them to be able to jump even if the ceiling raises. But you have the things coming from both sides. It's just super fucking tough. Very, very difficult to work your way through here for sure, you know.
You know what? It's funny. I felt the exact same way. Even having their spread weapon, because of the enemies that would come from the sides, I would miss like the things coming down at me, and I'm like, and I would always be like, I hope I get it. I think I might have even lost my weapon at one point coming into that, and I was like, well, let me just see if I can get through it. And clearly, that was way tougher. You know, I think
the developers threw you a little bit of mechanics, but I think you know, as hard as it is, it's like I don't know, it's a nod to how difficult it is, I guess, because I noticed. So you know, when the ceiling will drop down, and you'll have like a pit in front of you, like I said, and you know you're constantly trying to proceed because those things will come if you just hang out there. So I noticed that if you try to jump across a pit with the ceiling all the way down, your sprite in his little roll formation will kind of stick to the ceiling for a beat. Did you notice this?
For a beat, yeah.
So like it would, yeah. I mean, you know, it was super quick. It was not like a long time or anything, but it was definitely longer Like you were definitely not just bouncing off the ceiling and coming down. So it was almost like just a mechanics bone they threw you, to like you can still, otherwise you just would not be able to make it over the pits, I don't think. You know what I mean? Even the small ones. So yeah, it happened to me a couple of times on my boss battle stream, and in both instances, you see like how you can tell in the fucking video. I'm like, oh shit, I'm so surprised and thankful. Yeah, when it happened. So this was it was very, very difficult. I died on my first time on my stream run. I lost my spread gun, and I was super heartbroken. Probably died 4 or 5 times before the ceiling stopped coming down, and then things settled down to just a platforming with the grunts coming at you. So. This is a very, very difficult stretch. So I had I streamed my run of this stage, and I had 1 life heading into the home stretch after that. You know what I mean? So high fucking drama for me. And so you come out of there and you go down a short step-by-step descent into a dead end, and the back wall slowly crumbles down, and then rocks start flying up from the floor as something comes jutting up out of it. And I was running around. I just talked about this in our couch co-op. I was running around like a chicken with my head cut off, and the rocks flying up from the floor actually killed me. So it took my last remaining life on just some dumb shit, And then even knowing that, it still happened to me again in the couch co-op, which was fucked up. So now I was rolling into this battle with no safety net. That's how I rolled into the final boss battle. I have no idea what to call this massive abomination, but it comes up all the way up, and it's basically a whole screen tall thing, and it takes up maybe a third of the screen to the right hand side up against the edge, and it's a human face. It's a woman, I would say, just by the look of it, with a crustacean looking alien kind of like wrapped around it. It's very, very badass. Like, it's a really, really well done boss fight for sure. Certainly cooler than, the heart in the first game was cool because of just the narrative meaning of it. You know what I mean? Like that you worked your way through this alien creature, and now you're at the heart and you're gonna blow its heart up. So it was a cool idea, but as far as like how it looked, like this is way cooler, than the first games. It has a horn curving down out of it and upward at the bottom, out of which it shoots these spike projectiles that fly up into the air and then slowly rain down onto the whole area that you can stand in. And these are like randomly placed, and I would say pretty easily dispatched by firing straight up above you, so you can shoot yourself a safe space. You know what I mean? And then the eye also fires a stream of red, but otherwise identical projectile sprites directly at your dude. So that's kind of the setup for this. How did your boss battle go?
So I beat this in 2 tries. Like, I just kind of jumped in and like died first, just kind of doing some cowboy stuff first. But the second time, like, I just kind of stayed at the back, kind of like I did in our couch co-op, and just kept jumping and spraying, and I took it down. It was
jumping and spraying at like a 90-degree angle.
And forward.
Yeah.
Just jumping up and spraying forward. You know what I mean? Trying to just out of the range of those things coming at me. And it's funny because I'm watching a playthrough. This person's using the fireball, and they hit it with like 9 or 10 fireballs, and it was done. Like, they just went up to the front of it and stood up there. I'm like, wow, the spread is so much more defensive and helpful, but it feels like in multiple occasions I've seen, and even when I picked up the fireball, I'm like, this thing's really powerful.
Well, I mean, that's especially you're watching like a playthrough speedrunner type. I mean, that's going to be someone who has the game essentially memorized, and the thing, you don't need to worry about defense if you have the game memorized. You know what I mean? So like the fireball, the thing that's going to kill everything the fastest is without a doubt the preferential weapon in that case, if you know where the projectiles will be. So it's a different approach in that context.
Either way, I think the lead up here to the final confrontation was the hardest thing. You know what I mean? Like, getting through that freaking part.
Sure. That's a lot like the first game too, I think. Like, and I'm going to get to a point here too, but the effort towards overlap or similarity, I think, was a very deliberate one. But it took me a minute or more of evading these and just kind of peppering the woman's face and the lower horn area before I even realized I wasn't getting the damaged sound cue. Like, you don't hear that, but you hear it was, you know, it's a subconscious thing because it's so frequent. But if you don't hear that, you're not doing damage to anything. So like it eventually clicked on me or dawned on me that was happening. So then I tried to get an angle on the eye on the top of the creature, which opens and closes. And so that's like its hit sensor. And that is when it hit me that this is the exact same attack formula as the original Contra final boss. So you can safely run into the sprite without dying. And that's another instance, you know, like we talked about the Babaloo destructoid mechanism. You jump on top. Like usually you come anywhere near a boss, you're dying in Contra. But in both the first game and this one, yeah, you can literally, you can jump on, I think you can even jump on and like put yourself on the feet of it. You know what I mean? And then you are, I think you're below where the stuff comes out of it, the downward, the thing that comes out of its eye. So you can continuously fire at a 45-degree angle, and it hits this one right in the eye. You know what I mean? So yeah, I have to interpret that as an intentional and another one of the many homages to the first game in this one. And you know, this is before video game nostalgia was cool. You know what I mean? So that kind of thing here is actually a somewhat original idea, I think. Yeah. And that is pretty fucking cool, and I really commend them for that. So, yep, once I had that figured out, this thing is totally cake, and I ended up dusting it off without even dying a single time. And I avoided that dreaded game over screen. So I walked in here in as pressured of a situation as I could have possibly been in and found a way to finish it off, which was pretty fucking satisfying, to say the least. So when you finish it off, explosions pop up all over it, and it sinks back into the ground, and then you get a slick and satisfying music ditty. And the screen dips to black. So the end credits are a hot-ass cinematic fading in from black, in which we see from behind a chopper. Jay, might as well drop it on us.
Get to the chopper!
Hovering in place, looking at the sunset behind a mountain range, and it's kind of that same orange and purple hued sky looking deal that's in the beginning of the game. And yeah, these clouds flow by, and you know Konami isn't going to pass on an opportunity for a lit ass music track accompanying a lit cinematic, and we get that here too. And that is where there are the end credits. Now, whatever the final boss battle was, it definitely was not the thing pictured in the instruction manual and labeled as Red Falcon Level 8, which is who I thought the orchestrator of this diabolical scheme was. And for that reason, I was kind of like, I don't know, it's almost like Metal Gear, where it's like, I don't know, what's up with that? Like, what? You never see the Red Falcon, you never fight it. That's supposed to be the final boss. What the fuck? You know what I mean? So I don't know. My point is that this kind of caught me by surprise. Like when it cut to end credits, I was like, okay. So that's kind
Red
of
Falcon just quit and run away.
I guess, yeah. I mean, that's kind of the story. I guess, yeah. That's what it is. That's the answer, and I didn't even think of that. That's you don't see him. I guess you don't. Whatever that thing is, you never see that in the first game either. So I guess in both cases, the idea that he's escaping to a lot for the sequel, so I guess that's the answer. But it caught me by surprise. So yeah, game over, Guerrilla Warrior Extraordinaire. You saved the world yet again. And the credits roll beneath the scene described above. A whopping 4 people, dude. That's who made this game. 4 fucking people. There's a programmer, a graphic designer, a sound designer, and a director. And they also give special thanks to one person and the Super C team. And so those roll by. The song winds down as the Konami logo scrolls up and stops, leaving the animation above running in perpetuity. And there is, or rather, that is a proper, hopeful cinematic ending with no cut to the title screen, and that's the best kind, I think. So,
love it.
Yeah, Konami kicking ass. Really, I don't know. That's fucking really well done. Really great storytelling. Really good. The right amount of cool cinematic stuff without slowing a game down that needs to really, you know what I mean? So yeah, really fucking well done.
Fun weapons, good mechanics. I mean, just replayability. Like I was thinking the other day, I was like, oh, maybe I'll just jump into another Super C run. Maybe I'll just kind of.
No, it warrants the sit worth playing list for sure, to say the least. Yeah. So yeah, we also did, as you might expect, a 2-player co-op run of this bitch, couch co-op, and the video for that is up. It'll be in the show notes. It's on all the socials already. But as you might expect, co-oping Contra is fun.
Spoiler alert.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, we already mentioned about it, or mentioned it rather, but the top-down second stage 6 is a real beast. Because of the two-player quirks, the alien base and mountain ascent levels are as well because of the clipping off the bottom of the screen. And again, the enemies don't scale up, so it is easier the rest of the time because you can lay down the essentially double the fire. #math. But that said, we still could not beat this fucker. We had to dig up Game Genie codes for our run. We ran on continues in stage 7. I think I want to say it was 2. Did we get 2 continues? Is that what it was?
Yeah, I think it was. And we were just like, what? Are you kidding me?
So yeah, we punched in, and we did do. I guess we should say that too. We looked up the 10 life codes, so we were able to go through the game with 10 lives, not 30, unfortunately, like the Japanese version. But whatever, a little boost to the. I can't imagine beating this game with 3, just like you can't imagine beating the first game with 3 unless you're a fucking professional. But
right, like who does that? Like we all played with 30 lives on the first game, so just remember that, people, before you judge us for not beating it without the code.
So we punched in. We found the codes for unlimited continues, stage select level 7, and then 9 lives to start. Which it's weird to me. I thought it a little odd that the Game Genie code is for 9 lives, but the code gives you 10. Like it was weird to me that the Game Genie code wasn't for whatever. Just a weird, quirky math incongruence that probably would only be noticed by an Android 10 BB stacker like me. But it was funny. It was a blast. Otherwise, we finished it with that pretty easily. And yeah. That's fucking Contra, or Super C rather, on the NES.
That is the ending theme, appropriately bringing us into the verdict. Josh.
King Lorik's Blessing? Does it get King Lorik's Blessing? I was kind of ho-hum and workmanlike through my playthrough, I would say, but I think that's just a me problem in shooters, I would say generally it's great. Like, Konami's a fucking wizard with this kind of 8-bit video game.
Yeah.
Like, the music is lit, the graphics are lit, controls are lit, it's fucking lit. Like, the whole game is fucking lit, The final boss was fairly cake, but, I always say, it's such an important thing for me to find satisfaction from that part of the game. And while it was easy, partly, it's obviously a hard stretch there up to it too. That's a tough stage. But because of my finding satisfaction in the homage thing and the effort put into everything else, and credits included, I don't even want to knock it for that. I think even that part of the game was well done. So, I think Blessing Bestowed, and to my surprise, I think I agree now that it is better than the original. Which I've never. That is not how I felt for most of my life.
Yeah, wow. That's a big statement. But now that you say that, I'm thinking about it. Like taking the harder, overhead view stages from the standpoint of Commando, and they really did do it, because when I think about it, even the angling of some of the buildings is more in line with what I saw in Commando and liked about it. And so when I think about it from that standpoint, I'm like, yeah, I do like those better than those other stages in the first one. Do I like this better? I might. It was more fun than I expected. I thought it was just going to be pain and suffering, but it wasn't pain and suffering. It had a couple hard parts, but it had enough fun smash, spread weapon destruction, to counteract that. And so, of course, Blessing Bestowed, it might be better than the first, but the first has the original Konami code that we all remember and know to this day. So I don't know if I can give it that status. I can't give it icon status.
It's not more iconic by any length,
but it might be better. It might be more fun. Yeah.
Okay. So short and sweet on the fucking no dicking around with Blessings. Fucking King Lorik's like, yeah, stamp it. Let's go. Next thing.
Are we talking about this?
Yeah. Right. So next up, we have Game Pro issue 10, and then finally, Sega Vision's #1 will follow that on the mag front after the Game Eps, or Game Ep rather, and there's probably likely a little bit of side quest action coming on the pipe before then as well, but nonetheless, it is visible on the horizon, and that excites me. And you can subscribe to the pod on the platform provided by whatever dumbass company that stirs up your pottery. Please rate and leave positive shit for the pod on that podcast platform of choice or any other for that matter. The website is nyehentertainment.com/ISOH pod. Email us at isohpodcast@gmail.com. Want to bullshit with us directly or privately? Follow the pod on Facebook and or Instagram. You can link to, or rather there is a link to the YouTube gameplay videos playlists in the show notes. And there's the ISOH subreddit if you want to get down on Reddit. And we do not have a Patreon. If you'd like giving money to things podcasters tell you to and would like to do so at our direction. The Able Gamers Foundation creates custom gaming rigs for gamers with disabilities, and that is cool as fuck. AbleGamers.org is where you can find them. Jay, what are your socials?
Gentleman JB without the second E. That's my gamer tag. That's where you can find me pretty much everywhere except Oculus. It's gentleman.jb. Still without the second.
Yeah.
Yeah. Couldn't really change it. I don't know why that is, but whatever.
I think you can actually, dude.
But it's still connected to my social profile, which is the normal one, you know. So
right. But you can change that. You can definitely change it for sure. 100% you can change it. Yeah. So my Twitter is @JoshFolan. My Instagram is @MyShiftKeyIsBroke, and my gamer tag is 2Minute Todd. But yes, my Oculus profile is also MyShiftKeyIsBroke, which I was able to I've had to explain that. Like I told you, I make the friends on Oculus, and I have to explain. They're always like, what is it? Like my shift key is broke. Like no fucking anything. I was like, it's a college holdover thing. Like, you know, it's better if it's in all capitals. And they're like, oh, and actually it led to this really philosophical conversation I had with one dude who was like, you realize that pretty soon the kids on here won't even know what a shift key is. And I'm like, oh my God.
Right?
it's just an up arrow on mobile platform keyboards. You know what I mean? It doesn't say shift anywhere. So yeah, I was like, oh my fucking God, you're right. Fucking, I got to think of something else I think is really clever. Which I can't even take credit for. I actually got to give credit to that to I think it was an amalgamation of Jay Herman and Jeff Root, if I have to say it too.
Okay.
Yeah, so I can't remember which one of them. It might have been like a conversation fucking mashup of some kind, but I definitely stole that from one of them. In any event, okay, bye.
Bye.